What's up, guys? It's D22-soso Wayne Chung of the Light Like Poker Stream, Professional Gamer Podcast, blah, 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 a lot of stuff, esports. And this is my special guest, Ray Cipoletti, aka RayC, professional Hearthstone player from the United States. He currently plays for Panda Global, and he's got a gang load of Hearthstone achievements. He was an Open Cup god, won 5 or 6 in a row until they changed the rules. So, no, I should say, I don't want to jump on the bandwagon and say screw Blizzard, but there's too many people in there. They've done so much for me back in the day. So, and you qualified for all the HCTs for 2 to 3 years in a row. And to cap off your many Hearthstone finishes, you have a first place on the ONOG, ONOG PAX East Major 2017.
Yeah, pretty much just a Hearthstone major. It's like a equivalent of like a dream hack or whatever you want to call it. Like whatever, whatever. Like they're all the same. Honestly, different names. They're all the same. You travel to a place. There's a bunch of nerds. You play some Hearthstone and you win some money.
I went to one event in Irvine, the esports arena. Did you go to that one?
Was that did you go to the major? I think it was in Santa Ana, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
Santa Ana esports arena.
Yeah, that's
my boy Jaeger Tsurikov was there. Dan Zach was there. Frozen was there.
Yeah, no, that's where Jaeger introduced me to Dan. I don't know if he introduced me to you. Because he was on.
Not, yeah.
I was staying at his house like that whole month.
You were staying at whose house?
Jaeger's house.
Jaeger's? Oh my gosh. Me and Jaeger go way back. We used to play on Full Tilt together like almost every day for like, I don't even know, at least half a year.
Yeah, no, I stayed at his house pretty much that whole month.
Whoa, okay.
I went down. I forget why I went down early. I think I did something with Blizzard or at Blizzard. And I remember I went there and they were all dyeing their hair for BlizzCon. Oh, that's what it was. It was there was BlizzCon like right after or right before. So I just stayed at his house for a while. And I also just wanted to hang out. I don't know, I haven't really been to that area too much at that point, so I just kind of wanted to check it out, be like a normal tourist or something. Like I've traveled around the world competing in different games, but I've never really gotten to see the places I've been, if that makes sense. Like you kind of just go. Go to the hotel. Yeah.
I did that too, because like I competed in Starcraft and Magic and traveled, and just like you just go to the tournament and it like ideally you don't see the stuff because you're still in the tournament, but yeah, if you bust out,
exactly.
then there were a lot of things to see. So yeah, no, Jaeger and I, we battled high stakes poker at Commerce for a while, and then he's still in the mix. We're still around.
Oh yeah, no, he's still a fiend. I know he was having a really good year. Last time I talked to him, he was he was doing real well.
He needled me. He's like, I'm doing real well, but poker's up and down. Hopefully, we've all found our groove. And he's a lot younger than me. How old are you?
26.
26. So I think he's older than you, but he's
definitely older than me. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's from NorCal too, and we had similar groups. And anyway, too much. That this is about you, not Jaeger. I'm gonna get him in the mix too, but he keeps like, bro, I got nothing interesting to say. I'm like, no, man.
Dude, just get him on with me. I'll make him. I'll get him to talk.
Okay, we'll get that going on. So, you played several. Did you play several games before Hearthstone, or?
Yeah, I was a professional Pokemon TCG player. I played Magic for a while. I played like every card game, honestly, but like mainly those were the big ones that people would know about.
How well did you do in Pokemon? Like, what are your top achievements?
I was one of the best in the world at Pokemon. My top achievement was top 32 in Worlds in 2012, and then I did it again in 2013. I couldn't travel for the majority of the time that I played because I was really sick. But once I could travel, I pretty much qualified and went to every Worlds for like 5 years before I quit and moved to Hearthstone. So
you did Magic after, in between, or
before?
Before
I did Magic. I did Magic before Pokemon.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Usually people would start with Pokemon. The age, I don't know.
So I did Magic and Pokemon like kind of at the same time, both when I couldn't really travel, and I had better friends in Pokemon than I did in Magic. Like I was at a point where I could have probably done Like I was winning, or okay, I wasn't winning PTQs because I would always concede, and like
Oh, because you can't go.
yeah, I would always collude. It was great. I mean, I don't care saying that now. It
Ooh.
doesn't. I don't care. I don't care now. Like I would just be like, all right, I'll
Give me
like
the cash. You want the cash?
give me all the prizes, and I'll like because you like none of these people care about the prizes. Like I'm over here, like I can't go, and I'm just like,
Ray,
I just do this.
this may not come as a shock to you, but that's been going on for quite a while. When people can't go, they just say, "Give me all the prizes." You get the seat.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's what I was doing a lot in Magic, and then I was doing that a bit in Pokemon as well. But I just had better friends in Pokemon, honestly. Like I was just more involved in that community for some reason, the Magic community at that point in my life. Like I was like, I don't know, when I started playing, I was probably like 10, 12 years old. Like the audience for Pokemon was like more my age, and I kind of grew up
Yeah,
with them.
that's
So
like
once I could actually travel, I was like, would I rather travel with a bunch of like old dudes I barely know, or like people that like I actually am actively friends with? That's really what it came down to at that point.
yeah, those social circles, especially with the physical cards, is kind of like underrated, I guess. You always want to, if you're gonna go to like a tournament, especially in a foreign place, you want buddies to hang out with. That's part of the fun, the shared experience. So let's talk about your health stuff because I learned about it, and then it's we obviously feel bad, and like whatever we can do, we could
Uh,
try to get the troops
so
rallied.
yeah, that's man, I'm in limbo right now, but I'll explain. I was born with something called tetralogy of Fallot. It's a form of congenital heart disease, which basically just means um TLDR it. I was born with valves in my heart just not there, just like missing. So my tricuspid and my pulmonary valve were AFK, at birth. So they rerouted my heart when I was a baby, and then as I got older, they put in what they call bovine pericardium valves, which are just a fancy
Wow.
word for cow.
Yeah.
It's just a fancy word for cow. So I have pretty much cow valves for my pulmonary and tricuspid valves right now, and you got to get them replaced like every 5 to 10 years, ideally every 10 years. So, like when I was taking breaks or like when I wasn't able to travel, it was because of like that stuff happening, right? Like I
Yeah.
was born with it. So think about like, so I had I had 3 open heart surgeries, I think 3 or 4 open heart surgeries when I was like 0, and then like one when I was like 5 or something, and then I had one when I was in like, I just remember it was like freshman or sophomore year or something like that, and that's like when I couldn't, like when I was getting good at like Magic and Pokemon was around like freshman year. So that's why I couldn't travel originally for a while. Like once I actually got good enough that I was winning stuff, I was recovering for a hot minute, and like also just like I don't know, my mom was obviously very mama bear, like
Yeah. I
protective
mean,
and whatnot. Like just I don't know. I feel like parents who have kids that are like that are just like I
you
don't know.
gotta
When
be
you say
really
it,
concerned. Yeah.
it's like when you say I'm gonna travel like across the country with like these
No.
random dudes, it's just and I'm like if I don't even know how old I was, probably like 13, maybe 14 at most. Like at that point, it's just like, yeah, it's probably a no-go. But once I was stable for a while and like I qualified, I think the tipping point was I qualified for Worlds in Hawaii, and I was just like in
Gotta do it.
2012, or it was either 2012 or 2010. I qualified for Worlds for Pokemon, and I was like I hope I'm going to this. Like this is like a free trip to Hawaii. Like I you could try to stop me, but like I just like hope that I'm like I am not missing this. Like, and that was my first tournament. I went with one of my best friends at the time. He was like an actual adult, I would say at that point. He was a real adult. He was like 24 maybe. I don't know. I was like probably 18. But I went to his house. He drove us to the airport, and I just traveled with him to Hawaii. And then after that, I just went to everything because I was obviously fine. I got top 32. It was like probably the best experience of my life at that point. And then I was like, all right, I'm doing this. You can try to stop me, but I'll probably hate you forever if you do. So good luck.
Yeah, I mean, your mom's in a tough spot because obviously she wants you to have like live your life and have experiences, but like she's she's human. She knows that it's not a good idea to have just a bunch of immature guys. Like, I've been to these events. It's just like it, there's definitely some immaturity that goes around. But thankfully, you had a buddy to help you, and you had these great experiences. Because like my esports experiences, I would never trade that, for whatever. I mean, like
Yeah.
those are like my peak, you know. I shouldn't say. Definitely some of my peak experiences, like.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's like traveling with your homies around the world is definitely like unforgettable, like unreplaceable
yeah,
experiences. Like, wouldn't trade that for the world. And I'm very glad that I just decided to say, I'm just gonna do this. Like, I don't care. Like, if I die, I die. Like, if something bad happens, like, I just don't care at that point. Like, I don't know. That's like, what am I gonna do? Just be like,
you
let
earned
it
it, man. Yeah, I mean,
limit me forever, I guess. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, I did, I was like a spokesperson for Make-A-Wish for a while because I got a Make-A-Wish at some point in my life, like when I was in middle school, like early middle school. So probably maybe I was like 10 or something. I had a Make-A-Wish because I had a brain tumor at one point.
man,
And
this is killing me, man.
no, I mean, to me, it's like I just don't care anymore. It's all a meme at this point.
I
But
mean, it's good you have a positive attitude, but look, like we're cool. I know you have like closer buddies like Jaeger, Dan, or whatever, and like all your homies, but like we want you to keep fighting, move on.
oh yeah, no. I mean, I got a lot more shit to do.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm also convinced at this point I'll probably outlive like half of you guys because my body's like gonna get replaced. Like all my parts are getting
You're
replaced on
gonna.
the daily. Like I'm gonna be like a robot, dude. Like
Hey,
um but yeah, I did all that stuff. I've traveled, I played Magic. I did go to like some big Magic tournaments. I grinded on the Star City circuit for a while at one point. Like while I was playing Pokemon, I kind of switched to Magic for a little bit
what year
and just
was this?
uh I don't remember. I think you could probably Google by name. It'll probably come up like Magic and it'll probably come up with like a vague top 8 deck list from like 2011 or 20
I have random ones like that too.
like something like
Okay,
that.
that's way beyond my time. That's way beyond my time.
Either way, fast forward to now, I'm in a situation where last year, I got pretty much diagnosed with heart failure again, and they were just like, yeah, so I've had 7 sternotomies, which is just a fancy word for like when you get an open heart surgery, they cut open your chest, right? They break it open to take, they literally, whenever they do an open heart surgery, they take your heart out of your body and put you on a machine. Like they don't operate on your heart while it's in your body. They actually take it out of you and put you on a machine that circulates your blood. So they like when they put in the valves and stuff, they physically take your heart out of your body, like put it on a, I don't know if they put it on a table. I don't know what they do with it, but like it's not in your body. And when they do that, it gets harder and harder each time to go in because there's scar tissue that builds up. So it takes longer and longer. It's like slightly riskier and riskier. I mean, I would say it's not like with the improvement of technology, like in theory, it's supposed to be riskier and riskier each time. But since like the medical
Technology
field
gets
has been,
better.
technology gets better, it's probably like about the same risk each time they've done it, just because
Things
like in
improve.
theory it should be riskier, but things improve so much that it's like they know that it's not as risky. But at this point, they're just like, well, like you're like pretty much going to have to keep getting these valves replaced, or you can get a new heart, and that's a much better solution. Like going into your adulthood, like they don't want to do this every 5 to 10 years as an adult. Like as a kid, it's much easier to recover apparently
Yeah.
from this stuff. So they are kind of just like at a point where they're just like, all right, well, if we're gonna cut you open again, we're just gonna give you a new heart, ideally. And like that's pretty much where they're at. Like they told me this last year, but then I got put on the transplant list at some point around when coronavirus started, like maybe like a little bit before. I think it was like February, March. And then coronavirus happened, and then they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna hold off on this because like I'm not at a point where I not that I don't need it, but I don't need it bad enough that it's worth the risk, like of doing it during these times. Like
Yeah.
if I were to end up in the hospital, I would get it. If I were to get to a point where like I can't like I don't know
Function.
function, then I would be able to do it. Like they would do it. It's not like they're just like, no, I'm not. Like this is not an option anymore for you because of the coronavirus. It's more like we want to be like we want to make the right plays. Like we want to minimize the like we want to have everything go perfectly, right? Like
Right.
there's no reason not to play it safe,
Yep.
to take like the optimal lines. You know, get the checkmate, like guarantee the win. You know, like they're playing it safe, so they're just that's kind of where I've been for almost a year now. It's kind of weird to think about that. Like since March, I've just been like people ask me like, "Oh, what's the update?" Like because they like it got on the list around March, and I'm just like, I I don't know. Like that like the coronavirus stuff has not changed. Like the situation has literally just like not changed at all, which is so weird to me. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't know what to say. Like I'm just
What state are you in?
I'm in New Hampshire,
New
so
Hampshire. Okay. I don't
for
know what's
me it's like
like
the
over
Northeast.
there. Yeah, I don't know what's like over there, but over here it's just like ridiculous. Like I probably know over 100 people who have gotten COVID. Definitely not good. Definitely don't want you to get it. It's definitely higher risk. But like I know people who are over 70 that have gotten it and they're fine. I also don't directly know, but some people have passed away. Like friends that know people. Well, I guess I do know somebody passed away, but he was old, had health problems anyway. But just like, yeah, it's like really ruined shit around in the area over something that's just like, not really like not that crazy.
It's it's wild, dude. It feels like I haven't like it feels like time has just paused since
Yeah,
March. Like
I agree.
I haven't done anything. Yo, I see that LaCroix. Is that seltzer water or what?
Yeah,
Yo, I'm
it's
drinking the
lemon.
same thing. I'm drinking
Oh,
seltzer. Yeah. Okay, so I had to actually lose like a bunch of weight, and this is like one of the ways, like one of the things that helped me the most was like I cut out all soda, all sugar. I just started
good.
drinking like people hate seltzer water. Like people are passionate about hating it or loving it, and I'm just like I don't really care either way, but it's not soda, and it kind of like gives you that like
Just flavor in your ear.
carbonation,
Yeah, yeah. I'm the same
like that.
way. I still try to be good though. I still drink water, but sometimes I just like degen tilt and I need need some flavor.
Yeah, so I did end up losing the weight though. That was pretty cool. That's like a
It's
one
awesome.
positive that came out of this was like I did. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to try. You don't really have a choice, right? Like they're like, if you lose 50 pounds, you're probably gonna have a higher chance of living. You're not gonna be like, like
Hey.
like you're not gonna be like, I'll think about it. It's like you just you do it. You have to show compliancy as well. It's a whole process. Like they don't just give people new hearts. You have to have like it's literally an interview process. It's like it's almost
So
like a
it's
job interview. It's crazy.
you're
And then
like,
you have
do you know how good I am at card games, DCGs and CCGs? You better give me a new heart.
I don't think I got that kind of clout yet, but I was working on some cool stuff to do with Pokemon. Like it popped off lately, like collecting cards, and I uh I was middlemaning Pokemon deals for people like Logan Paul and stuff
Oh
the
wow.
last like 2 months ago. It was crazy, dude. I was like FaceTiming with Logan like every day and doing like it was like actually like crazy. I don't even know how they found me, but he contacted me on Twitter and he messaged me like, "Hey, can you help me find these boxes?" He was looking for like first edition boxes and then like some other cards to help complete his collection. And I had all the connections from
That's
when
great.
I played Pokemon because all the big collectors would go to Worlds and stuff. Like they would literally offer you like $25,000 like on the spot for like your Worlds cards. Like you got physical cards if you did well at Worlds that literally said like if you win Worlds you get a card called number one trainer card that literally says I won Worlds in this year, so there's only like 3 of them that exist because there's other divisions, and people like the big collectors would just offer money on the spot. It was kind of crazy, especially as a kid. You just have these
Sure.
grown ass people just like casually like which is I'm really glad that like my friend held on to. I didn't hold on to any of my stuff. That's like my biggest regret. I never held on to anything. I sold it because I was like, oh, I want to get to the next event, and then now looking back at it, like all that stuff is worth like I don't even want to think about it. It's like
Memories.
disgusting. It's
Yeah.
disgusting. Like I could have probably paid for a new heart with Pokemon cards if I had never sold any of my Pokemon cards at this point because of that stuff. But I use those connections and I middleman some deals for some, I guess you'd call them famous people, but it was just really weird. It was interesting. My life is a meme, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'm in LA, so I see famous people like all the time. So, and just like, obviously I'm on Live at the Bike. I have an esports history, but I'm like nothing, man. Like I've seen just like movie stars and just like it's just normal. like, you know,
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know because I'm from New Hampshire. I don't like seeing people. I don't care about seeing. Like I don't really. I don't want to say. I don't know if idolize is the right word, but like I don't fan. Like I just don't like. It doesn't matter to me.
sure.
Like I just don't care about most of these people. Like I just don't pay attention to that stuff. I'm not really into. I don't know like I don't know how to explain it. I just wouldn't care. Like if I saw these people
Yeah.
walking on the street, I just wouldn't care. But
It's more
like they
just like
reached out
a double take, yeah. Oh yeah, if they reach out to you, it's something else. Yeah.
it's like they reach out to me and they're interested in something I've been doing for a decade. Like I still, even though I stopped playing Pokemon, I'm a collector. Like I have all my assets pretty much in Pokemon cards because I can't um have like a certain amount of money because of insurance purposes or some bullshit like that. It has to do with insurances. It doesn't matter. So I just have like all my stuff in Pokemon cards because I can't. I have to play around. I have to play around the insurance trap cards.
I mean, they're appreciating, right? I saw Charizard's like a bajillion dollars.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff. I've been doing it for a decade. Like I never stopped collecting. I've been a huge fan of the game and just like collecting. So I'm I'm chilling. I'm chilling, sort of. Not really, because I can never actually sell them, but not for a long time at least.
well, just look for a good time. Sell when Bitcoin's on the dip. I'm just kidding. um, but you mentioned that you knew Brian Kibler when you guys were younger, right?
Yeah, he's my neighbor.
Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's how I got into card games, actually.
Kibler, you ruined his life. Just kidding.
So our parents were best friends. They worked together. They were nurses for like 20 years or something like that, and I would just go over there all the time. And I don't know. I just his mom would give me his old Magic cards. Like his mom would give me like his old Pro Tour T-shirts and stuff
Sick.
like that. 'Cause he's a lot older than I am. Like at this point, like I'm like a 10-year-old kid. I don't know how old he is when he was doing this stuff, but
He's a little bit younger than me. I'm just gonna Google it really quickly. I know because like I told you this. He and I actually have played 4 games against each other. I know, like I texted him recently to try to get him on Live at the Bike, but like I don't even know if he remembers playing against me. He's 40, so he's 2 years younger than me.
okay.
So
So
he's quite a bit older than you then.
yeah, he's like
13.
geez, yeah, 14 years older than me, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
So he, yeah, his mom gave me all of his old stuff, and that's how I got into playing in general. Like that's what got me into Magic. That's what got me into Pokemon eventually, because I was into Magic first. Magic was my first game because I got the cards from Kibler's mom. I got interested in it. I kind of just like learned about it. Like my mom would tell me like, "Oh, look at this! Look at what Brian Kibler's doing!" Like, oh, like you should try that. Like, because that's something I could do too, right? Because I have all these
Right.
health stuff. I can't do sports. I can't do physically not physically active things, but I can't do physically like intensive things. Like I can't play sports because like I can't get my chest hit at that point,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. So my mom was like, "Oh, you should do this," and I was like, "All right." Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, this is cool, I guess.
When you turn out to be sick, sick with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about, honestly. Like, I found something from like when I was in like first or second grade or something, and it was like a "what do you want to do when you grow up" thing, and I literally wrote like I want to like become like a professional card game player, like my neighbor or something. And
And
then like
lo and behold.
it's so weird like looking back on that stuff, and apparently like I took a picture of it. I think it was like last year or the year before. I tweeted it, and like I drew a card and it looked like a Hearthstone card. It was so weird. I think I meant to draw a Yu-Gi-Oh card because I think I was into Yu-Gi-Oh for like a split second there. But it literally looked like a Hearthstone card. Like because you had to draw a picture with it, and it was disgustingly wholesome and cute. I was like, I can't believe I would write something like that. Like, oh my god.
And you're like, when you're reading the card text, you're like, man, this is so OP. What am I thinking? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude, it's weird how life works. It's like I write that kind of stuff. Like I saw Kibler not a lot, but like some of the time, like because he lived on the West Coast for the majority of the time that I was like, I mean, able to like remember going over there because I don't really remember every like when you're that young like, but I remember seeing him like a few times and stuff like that. It's weird to see how it kind of plays out like 20 years later.
I mean, I can't lie. Like, a lot of people I grew up with ended up being like actual people in this world. Like, John Sasso, the president of Channel Fireball, Brian Weissman, Jay Severson, co-founder of Chess.com, Dennis Fong, just like countless people that I knew when I was a teenager, and like, you know, closer to the industries that I'm in, but they just Brian Weissman was the executive producer of Path of Exile. Just like they just grow up to be something in the world, and we could talk about that later. Just like the progression of what to do as your professional gamer and what to do afterwards when it's probably time to move on.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, and people are really bad at it.
I have some insight on it because I did it, and I wish I had somebody. The thing is, it was unprecedented because my generation was the very first of just like professional gaming, and
Mhm.
I was one of the few people it was very plausible for. So like, the year I competed, the first year I competed, I had a salary job of 28,800 a year, plus my winnings were about 14,000. If you Google it, it says 11 something, but there were some tournaments that weren't documented. So I was making like 50K in like 1999, 50K a year, something like
Yeah.
that. So, or wait, no, 44ish K a year. So it was like I was one of the first, and then it gets to a point where like .com crash. I did get a soft offer from Blizzard, but I just decided to go back to school and like live life. And a lot of my generation was just like, we knew it was going to be a big thing, and we're so glad people like you and all future generations are just can make it a thing. But one of the issues in retrospect was converting ability, performance, and knowledge into real world value, which thankfully Twitch and YouTube and all these world championship events allowed a certain value transfer for competitors.
Yeah. I think that those outlets probably didn't exist back then either. Like
No.
literally, I think the only reason why Brian was able to do it back then was because he worked at Wizards for a while. Like that's what he did. He won some pro tours or did whatever he did. Was one of the best in Magic, and then he got a job offer from Wizards, and he worked for them for however long he worked for them until he could branch out and do other things. I know he like helped make the World of Warcraft TCG. He did a bunch of stuff with like gaming companies
Yep.
before he eventually went back and actually like started streaming and stuff. Like he didn't stream until like that wasn't a thing for a
No.
very long time.
So I have insight on this because I lived it. What happened on at least Brian Kibler's and Magic side, like Wizards of the Coast had like a site that reported stuff, so you could track like top players competing while in tournaments, and also side sites like the dojo or something. So you have people writing strategy guides. So people's performances could be tracked, and then uh, I don't know if Brian Kibler wrote article. I think he did because I did remember.
He wrote articles.
Yeah, he wrote articles because I remember his tone, and then just like clearly he was one of the guys that are just like really love this stuff. So when you develop a name, and then obviously the company is going to notice you, and then if it's a fit, then you go. Like for me, I was literally the front of Starcraft for like the first 2 years. Like I was on the front lines. I competed. I was reporting. This was before replays. So I would like write all the tournament reports, like literally right after I competed,
Yeah.
and I would do strategy. So like and it was, we just, for the love of the game, for the love of content and growing this stuff, that's what we did in the beginning. And then, technologies improves, we get older, and then our responsibilities kind of develop. So,
Yeah. I think I kind of did something similar to that when I was doing Pokemon. I wrote for a website called Six Prizes, which was like the channel Fireball of Pokemon back in the day. And that's how I actually made money from Pokemon to just like fund.
yeah, transferring value. Yeah.
Well, it just all went back in because like sponsors weren't a thing back then. Like I was literally like you have to pay to go all these places, so I was just like it was all getting funneled back in. Even cards were like expensive.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh man, Magic was terrible. I mean, it not as bad as today for like Power Nine or the Type One stuff. I do have to do one quick name drop or sick brag. Do you know Cube Draft for
uh
Magic?
yeah, I know what that is.
I created it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, like Brian Weissman and John Sassler from Channel Fireball just tracked it. It was like 2004ish, and I created the first cube. I still have the original box. It was like in there, and
Damn.
just I would drag it around. I dragged it to the World Series of Poker. I dragged it. I begged people to
To
draft
play with
me.
you?
Yeah, like Brian Weissman and John Sassler. I like begged them, and they're like, "This is so fun." And then I would just like keep asking them, but they're busy, so whatever. Anyway, just tangent.
I mean, there's still people that do that. Like, I mean, obviously now there's a lot of people that do that, but I mean, like in my personal friend group, like there's people that are just like, just have their old cube. They're just like, I mean, not as much now because of COVID, but like people are, just, oh, we should go to the game store, like and play like cube draft, like Pokemon or Magic or whatever. And I mean, I feel like I cube drafted like a couple of years ago, honestly. Like,
Apparently it took off online, and there was like a cult following. But yeah, I mean, some stuff I did in StarCraft ended up getting a cult following too. But just like it's rough because as you get older, you gotta make money. You gotta real life kicks in, so you gotta make choices.
yeah, I think that's what a lot of people forget, honestly. Like, I see this happen so often where people will do really well in tournaments, especially in Hearthstone. There's a lot of people like Pavel. I mean, even my one of my best friends, Hot Meowth or Edwin, who win insane amounts of money and then they just don't capitalize on it. They don't stream, they
Oh,
don't make any content, and they just like have this large amount of money because they're still young. I mean, I think like at
bro,
that point, this is maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, something like that, maybe 3 years ago. And it's like, I don't know how old are they, like early 20s. Like they just have like 100, all of a sudden you get a windfall of $100,000 or like a few $100,000 and you're just like, well, I'm good. Like I just don't have to do
no,
anything now. And I'm just like, no, like this is not going
use
to
it.
last as long as you think. And then now they're just like, I just see like Edwin every day. He's like, man, I hate working a wage cut job. Like, why didn't I like do this, and this? And I'm just like, I literally told you.
This
Like
is this is what this
bash my head against the
podcast
wall.
this is what this podcast is for too, because literally nobody was there to guide like my generation, and like we had times where we just like had these achievements and just like no money, and we needed to like transfer it into like real world value, and we could have worked for game companies, but the pay wasn't great, and like, you know, was it really what we wanted to do? I don't know either. But yeah, no, I mean, like, if you, this is for the people, if you guys watch this, you guys, if you compete, it drains you, and then when you do well in the tournaments, you get a lump sum of money. Definitely ask for financial advice, because you can grow that money. I know Frozen's playing poker and he's doing well, and it's a very common thing. I want to comment on the poker thing, you know, later. But just like, ask adults how to manage finances, because you could grow that money passively. There's a lot of ways to just like, you know, low risk or higher risk to like grow
Dude,
that
I
money.
did put it all in Pokemon cards, baby.
I mean, that's not
All
even
in on
bad.
Charizard. It's not ironic.
It's not bad. Yeah.
It's not bad, but like that is what I did.
It's a strat. It's a strat.
The strategy, dude. I'm also addicted. Like I am definitely like it's a problem, like a little bit. Not really, but like I was just like, oh, I have money now. Like, but I can't keep the money. So I couldn't have like a certain amount for like insurance purposes, because like you have to qualify for X, Y, or Z or something. I don't know. Fuck the government.
I hear a lot of that.
So I was just like, what do I do? Like with like I can't have this money, but I have to spend it. But like I also don't want to spend it because I don't have anything. I don't have any. I don't do anything. I'm a nerd. Like I'm a nerd, dude. I don't do anything. I like
Hey man,
like
turns out nerd's a good thing.
the only time I ever lose money is when I have a girlfriend. That's it. Like that's the only time I ever lose money or spend money and like go out and stuff and like
Life's vices, right? we all gotta learn this stuff.
but I just put a lot of like the money that I would win in from tournaments and stuff. I would just buy Pokemon cards because that's like what I knew. Like I know
Sure.
all that stuff goes up in price. Like
Oh yeah,
if
I'm
you,
sure it did way better than the market. Magic cards did way better than the U.S. market.
yeah, I was like I don't and like at that point I was still like younger too. I'm just like I don't know what to do. It's like I just didn't have any like you said, like you should ask an adult, especially I didn't win like a crazy amount of money like they did, but like if I were to now, it's just like and I was younger, it's like I don't know, I feel like I would definitely need that guidance on like what do I actually do with this? Like how do I even go about like spending this in an appropriate way that like compounds money? Because I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like these people didn't spend the money all in one time to lose
Yeah,
it,
but
right?
they still need to like grow it. Like just go on
Yeah.
Reddit or Google it, just like how to grow money. And that's not like the keys to the castle, but just like, you know, obviously gamers are very intellectually have high intellectual curiosity. So just read. And you don't need to do it right away. Just get some information. And I'm not saying ask any adult, because obviously a lot of adults are very bad with financials. If people are just like good at growing money, or you just ask, you know, like adults
Smart
you
people.
trust. Yeah, exactly. Just be like, do you know people who are good with managing money or growing money? And then they'll lead you to the right direction. Just listen, and then, you know, figure it out. You don't need to decide right away. But that's something that I wish was told to me, like literally my entire life, even in my up to my early 30s. Like I had very poor guidance. Like I had lump sums for like quite a long time in my life, and just like, you know, civil war with my family, plus like lack of guidance.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens. Like, I know, like, you also just sit on it too, and if you don't do anything with it, like, people don't realize how. I mean, it is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money
It's not
over the
retirement
course.
money.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money over the course of X amount of years. Like, you can't just not stream. You can't just like sit back and do nothing and then be like, all right, well, I did this. I won worlds. Now I'm just going to fuck off and do nothing. And
Can't do that.
like you just can't do that. Like I don't know how they're do. I know how Edwin's doing personally, but like people like Pavel and stuff, like I don't know how pretty they're sitting anymore. Like having not streamed, like having not capitalized on the opportunity, like in literally zero ways. Like no, like if they streamed after they did well, like you're probably
Oh,
getting like 1,000
boom.
viewers at
Yeah.
least. Like like if you do what Firebat did, just stream, make content, like he's sitting pretty now. He probably never has to get. I don't want to say a real job because streaming is a real job. Content
Oh,
creating is a real
sure.
job, but like he probably doesn't have to get another job outside of that for however long this lasts, which might be forever. Hopefully, it is forever for those.
Hopefully, hey, Brian Kibler's still streaming, so
That's what I mean. Like for the foreseeable future, it is going to just become more and more popular,
yeah.
and I feel like a lot of people were in a position that they could have got in early and they just didn't for whatever reason because they thought that they could just like they were done. Like they did their one thing and now like that's it. They just get to do nothing. And then you realize like once you actually move out, once you actually like
Real
have
world's
to pay
tough.
rent,
Yeah.
once you actually like do things like I don't know, wanna like if you ever wanna raise a family or like anything crazy like that, you know, those crazy things.
Yeah, you need a lot of money, and it's. I keep telling people younger than me that it's just getting harder and harder every day. Like I'm lucky I didn't do the best things because of lack of guidance, but I didn't waste any time. So I created a lot of like and I'm still creating like real world value to just like one thing that um, is also underrated when you're younger too is just professional credibility. So say, once you hit like, 35 years old or older and you get introduced socially to, real world people, you need like cred. You need like professional credibility. So if you say top Hearthstone player, Magic player, Pokemon player, that's like one thing, but then that's you as a competitor. Now, how do you transfer it to real world? Like you're a streamer as well, and then people can ask you about it. You have a domain expertise, but then they're also looking for more. Like how do you contribute more to the world, or just contribute real world value, and all that credibility is added together because nowadays everyone's got a college degree, and everyone knows that like everything you learned in graduate school or undergraduate school, even graduate school, you could just Google. If you're smart enough, you could just like learn it when
Yeah.
you're a teenager. It's like
So when I was like 3 years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, um, Riot actually contacted me to try to hire me to be like a developer, like it has something to do with creating the cards on what now is Legends of Runeterra, their card game. They contacted me about this like 3 or 4 years ago, and I had like they made me make up like a resume or whatever, and they were more interested in the things I did with like so I actually helped run Six Prizes at one point, which was the Pokemon website. Like I wrote articles, I did coaching before that was like a big thing because I was like people would always ask me like how to get better, blah blah blah. I was like, okay, I can literally pay like if you pay me like $20 an hour, I will like some things are really hard to write about. Like you can't like
quantify.
people's mistakes that they make personally, like you can't point that out in right. Like I can't tell you what you're doing wrong
Yeah,
unless I actually see you play. Like I can write about what people do wrong in general,
yeah.
but if I point it out to you in real time, you're like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about."
So this
And
is this is a big thing. This is why academia has some flaws, is because they're teaching through monologue. But then like when you're coaching, it's through dialogue and you can micromanage.
yeah, and they were like really like Riot was like, "Oh, this is something you did," and obviously there's proof. Like you can just Google it or whatever. Like they looked it up and
Yeah.
did their research, did their due diligence or whatever. And then with Panda Global, like I did a lot of uh, a bunch of cool stuff with them. Um, I can't really talk about what I'm doing now, but
Sure.
we'll find out in like a month or so. But yeah, there was a bunch of cool stuff that I've been doing like outside of just playing the game, and they were more interested in that stuff than anything else. On top of like obviously my achievements, like
Yeah.
that's like the baseline for them is like, okay, you have to be like a pro at this game.
Sure.
And then I know they reached out to a bunch of other people from Hearthstone and Magic and stuff, and most people didn't. Like I got through like the 4 phone interviews like so fast, and then they flew me out to the Riot campus and offered me the job, and I obviously couldn't take it. I don't know if that's scummy or not to like like I went into it knowing I couldn't take it because this was like, I think I had a heart surgery in like 2016. So like going into the job interview, I already knew like they wanted me to move out like as soon as possible. Like I already knew that was not on the table, but I was like, I just want to do this process just to do it. I don't know. It seems like a good experience. So like they did that and I was like, I'll think about it. And then I just kind of ghosted them. Like not literally ghosted them. I was like, I can't do it right now. Like I have this stuff going on, but I really appreciate it. I was like, I made it sound like it just came up. So like sometimes you gotta you can play the fiddle a little bit. Like, oh yeah, I was gonna do it, but then like, oh, this heart thing just came up. Like like understand this and not feel bad, but like this is a good excuse, right? Like, but I went into it knowing I couldn't accept the job, and I just wanted to do it for the experience of doing it because I feel like that's a maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity to like go through that interview process of like panels. Like literally when I was there in person, it was like 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. interview after interview after interview. They called it like panels, and it was like very intensive. Like we were literally doing things. Like there was an interview at lunch. I was like, how am I supposed to eat and talk? And then they got mad at me for not eating. They were like, you need to eat more. You haven't eaten all day. And I'm like, but I'm answering your questions. And then one of them was like an interview while we were walking back. And I was like, now you expect me to walk and talk? This is crazy.
Man, life is really intense, man. Like, you know, pre-internet era, interviews were a lot shorter, a lot easier. Now it's just like they need to, you know.
I think it's because there's so many people that all have the same qualifications or more, like, and they weren't interested in my college degree at all because I'm pretty sure everybody and their mom has that. They were more interested in like, okay, how did you manage this? Like in terms of like people, because I would like manage like schedules and stuff like that, and I would do things. Like one of the things I did when I around that time was I did like the Panda Global Hearthstone team. Like that's why Jaeger was on our. I don't know if you remember that, but Jaeger was on Panda Global for a little while.
No, but shout out to Corextron, aka Koreatown.
Yeah, he was on my esports team's Hearthstone team because that's like what they put me in charge of. They were like, okay, we're gonna have a Hearthstone team. You're gonna get to like, because I mentioned them that I wanted to do it, and they're like, okay, you can do it, but you're gonna do, like you're gonna do it. Like we'll provide you with like whatever you need, but like like this is your thing.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then like they are more interested in that stuff than they were anything academic related outside of just knowing that I did it. You know what I mean? Like they didn't care. They didn't ask me any questions about school. They just the only thing they asked me was like, did you get like this degree? Like did you like what degree did you have? And like I don't even think they cared. I could have said like liberal arts. I don't think they would have cared. I got a business management degree, but like I like it could have been in anything. I don't think they cared.
Yeah, because like you know the stuff that I ended up studying in college, like I don't use, and technically I could have looked all this stuff up. You know, I was a teenager, or you know, if the internet was developed enough back then, it wasn't. But yeah, you could just like look up all the information. Just if you can do it, you do it.
Yeah, no, I don't value the stuff I learned in college outside of like the social aspect of it.
Yeah,
like that's
I
literally.
mentioned that as well. Like the social aspect's huge because especially people nowadays when they grow up with internet, they have less human interactions, which probably attributes a lot of toxicity online, especially you know in games as well. But yeah, just being in college like forces you to interact with.
Yeah, dude, I like low key. I love like people who are like keyboard warrior type people because it's just so fun confronting them in real life. Like I have no, I don't know, maybe it's part of the brain that they removed with the tumor, but like I just have no shame. Like I just have no like embarrassment or anything. Like if somebody is like a troll online and they go to a tournament, I'll walk up to them and be like, yo, what's up? Like knowing that they're just like a tiny, like I'm a big, like I'm a little bit less big now since I lost 50 pounds, but like I'm a big dude. Like I look like I could potentially be intimidating. So it's just really fun to fuck with people. that are like keyboard warriors. I don't know. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but it's just like,
No, I mean it's like they need that interaction too, because like starting from Starcraft all the way to poker, like people just talk and talk shit, and you confront them in real life, and some of it's like I realize too. Part of it is like why social media is polarizing and why your friends group is polarizing, because it's an echo chamber. Like when you complain to your friends or you discuss things with friends, it's always going to be biased to a certain view. Oh, this guy sucks. I don't like this guy because he doesn't fit in our world. But the thing is, the world's like so massive. So like when you or I are in front of like a lot of people, we have to try to like calibrate ourselves to, fit as many as possible. And in the end, you either like us or don't like us, or we do our job or whatnot. But these guys, like, if they criticize you personally, like your play or your group, like they're not doing that stuff, and they skew the narratives too. Like I've heard of things that I've done or Live the Bike has done, or when I was doing StarCraft stuff, it's just like they've twisted the story so much it like doesn't resemble what actually happened or what's true.
yeah. I mean,
And then they go to podcasts and start like mouthing off, and I was like, "What are you talking about? That's like not even how it works." And, so
it is what it is. I don't know. I'm lucky that I just don't care about like a lot of things like that. Like I don't know. I'm just kind of in my own lane. I do my own thing. I have my own friend group of people that I just enjoy, and I'm content with like progressing in my own lane, so to speak, as opposed to like trying to be friends with everybody. I don't really care
Oh,
about that
yeah.
nearly as much.
It's just like
Like,
not even possible. It's not even physically possible. Like people are gonna like you, people are not gonna like you. That's gonna happen to everybody.
yeah,
So
that's where I'm at. I'm just like, especially with like my people that I play games with too. Like Jaeger was not like a person who anybody knew, right? Like, but I just vibed really well with him, and I thought he was a very, very smart person. And I would co-op with him, and I'd be like, okay, this person is on the same level as I am. Like, they are also very bright, and we both help each other improve at the game. So I would rather spend like 8 hours in a
more
call
time,
with Jaeger, what,
more
or more
time
time,
with him. Yeah.
yeah, like than somebody like a top streamer or something who like I just like I'm pretending to like, and I just you know what I mean, like
Yeah, I mean, the progression from this is just like obviously when you get older, you become adults. You have a platform, like a wide platform, say like Live at the Bike, or say you work at Blizzard or Riot. You have to deal with like the entire range now. Now it's like you have to go one step further and be like, look, we may not get along, but like, what are we gonna do about it? Like, we still have to coexist in the world. We just need to showcase to these like millions, hundreds of millions of people that even if we don't get along, we still have to try to figure out how to work together, or show love for this game that we share an interest for.
yeah,
So I mean, there's just different progressions
learn
of
how to adapt socially.
social responsibilities, in which like, yeah, if it really doesn't fit your bill, then maybe you abandon it. I don't know. Like I have to deal with this stuff, and one of the big things is like, because Live the Bike's in person, so I can't just stick to the online persona slash wars. I have to deal with real people,
Yeah,
and it really restricts me in a sense that like, how it is too. When you talk online, it's a certain style. When you talk in person, it's like a different style, because there's personal relationships, a smaller group, and now I have to like kind of merge or morph it to
yeah.
something is something. So
I think I'm very good at like in real life interactions. Like most people who meet me in real life never have anything bad to say, but like I definitely talk a lot of shit online just because I find it hilarious. Like like I will find it funny. Like I'll talk shit about Blizzard all day on Twitter. But like if they meet like when the Blizzard people meet me in real life, it's like, okay, this person actually does genuinely care about these issues. Like they're not just shit talking, they're just like
yeah,
frustrated because this is like their passion. This is what they love, like that kind of thing.
and that's a big problem between competitors and operators, because it's like it's obviously a lot easier and takes less time to locate a problem than to actually like solve it. Like solving it, just like trial and error experience, and from an operator's perspective, like building something, it's just like, destroying something or pointing out a flaw is like a much quicker process than building it or like dealing with flaws, I guess.
Yeah.
So now that I'm on all sides, I'm just like I empathize with like as many all the sides.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know. The main thing I learned from being on like Panda Global esports team, I'm very good at talking to like old white people, dude. Like having the health issues and also growing up in New England, so like being very sport savvy and like normal people. Like I know a lot about like normal like people stuff, like stuff that like like the Patriots, blah blah, like the sport stuff. Like I'm very into like football and basketball and stuff. I'm not like a
Just the
typical nerd, I guess. Like I don't know why I'm not really into anime and like all that crap. Like for whatever reason, I'm more drawn to these things that like are more acceptable to like like people that work for big companies that are like trying to sponsor you. Like if you bring somebody who's going to talk about anime to like a Geico executive or something,
yeah.
right? Like they're gonna be like they're not gonna vibe with you nearly as well as if you bring somebody who has like these health issues, like this story of like these health issues that they've overcome, that also knows how to talk about like things that like you also actually are into, like normal sports and crap like that. I can put on a face and do the song and dance for whoever I need to. It's like I've learned how to adapt in those environments.
Yeah, no, it's a skill that, one, you do have to have like natural ability. Two, just like as part of it's learned. Like I don't even consider I'm okay, but I don't consider myself like super so like a social butterfly by any means. But it takes time to develop these abilities, and that's why it's like for people younger that are mainly on the internet, it's like you got to go out and practice. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I think we're lucky in some degree to have these real life like things that we do. Like for me, Pokemon, Magic. For you, like Starcraft, Magic, poker. Like these are real life things where you interact with people in real life.
Yeah.
So like you have that social skills, which dude, I see a lot of people that are just like, man, you have not left your basement in like a long time, have you? Like, like when I go to events, I'm just like, this is your first time out of the basement in like months. Like I get, like you could just tell, and I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, and even then, like obviously people who are out all the time, like I'm not the worst, but those guys are really good at just like interacting with like 90-95% of the field. And even if like they don't get along, they're really good at like, hey, just come and have fun. I'm just like, I envy those
Yeah,
guys, So
yeah. I envy the people who can have the patience for that stuff.
they like, this is the thing, like different people enjoy different things and have different skill sets. Like I'm like introvert, and I appreciate all those guys that are like social butterflies, that there's like like it's not my default to like want to like socialize, but they drag me out, and I'm always happy and I learn something after the event. So I'm really appreciative, and I think if people can just like acknowledge or recognize different skill sets or different values in different people, it's like, yeah, you don't have to force a relationship if clearly you guys aren't getting along, but you also don't have to like tear each other's throats apart if they're not getting along
Yeah.
either.
No, I feel that. I think that's really important to grow as like people as well. Like that's gonna help you out in every scenario.
And the other thing too, like I had a podcast with Zach Elwood, who's a author of Reading Poker Tells. Just like I get it. Some people are polarized. They don't want to change, but the people who are like closer to the center and like want other people to move closer to center, then leave those polarized guys to do their thing, and everybody else who doesn't like that stuff, just you know
Yeah, let them be.
yeah, let them be. And then everybody else is just like, Oh man, especially during quarantine, and we talked about this before the podcast. Like, man, my anxiety and my brain was gonna explode. But you know,
Hey, mine still is.
but you were mentioning that because you're a little bit used to it because excuse me, you're indoors all the time, so it wasn't like that drastic.
No, I mean it's not that drastic. I think the thing is like knowing that I can't just go and hang out with my friends. Like you know what? Like I need that like social like it's like a good
We all do.
grant like it kind of grounds you or brings you back. You're just like like I can hang out with some like my group of friends like once a month and be content with that, or like once every week or something like that, and just be like, okay, this is enough to hold me over for like another couple weeks. But when you
Yeah.
have that for like 6+ months, you're just like, I just want to give the homies a hug, man.
Yeah.
Like
True.
shit.
I did notice that like in my like brutal social anxiety, when I saw people in person, especially people I knew and had a rapport with, I was just like, oh my gosh. And something's like biologically just like click. And you just
Yeah.
like feel better. And it didn't like solve things all the way, but man, it definitely, made positive improvements.
Yeah, it definitely helps. That's why I'm just like, I just want this. Like, I'm in a category where I'll be like the first wave of people to get vaccinated. So I hope that
Good.
I hope that stuff happens soon, because I just like, I don't know. Like I have all the health stuff, but like I feel like that stuff is actually just not that hard for me to deal with. Like if I can just, I don't know, hang out with people and stuff and just like have some not normalcy, but just like you can get support from people, right? Like you can like I can talk to you and you can be like, oh, I'm here for you, blah blah blah, whatever. But it's like completely different to have like a bunch of people say that to you over like the internet than it is
Yeah.
to like actually hang out with people who like in face to face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that. Not that I'm like saying like it means less, like that people. I
Sure.
appreciate everybody who says stuff like that to me. Like I appreciate that so much. Like that helps immensely. But it's not the same as like just being able to hang out with people and like have that real life, you know?
Especially it like if you guys had shared experiences, because there's like we don't have really shared experiences. Like we could talk about especially generational gaps and the certain universal topics, but the guys, your homies you hang out with, you guys have like done shit together and like shared like life experiences with. That's like a completely different level of like bonding.
Yeah. I'm sure if we hung out in real life, that would
Oh no,
that would still help
that's
too.
fine. Yeah, no, I mean we have a lot of mutuals anyway, so I'm just like not really surprised. I'm like, but
I'd
that
have
we
a
get
great
along.
time if I went to LA and
Sure.
hung out like at Core again or something, went to like Live Bike or whatever
Sure.
it is, casino's called.
Yeah,
I'd probably have a blast. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
mean,
there's no way I wouldn't.
Yeager and I have never had a bad conversation. We're always like screwing around and joking around, and it's.
Yeah,
but
hopefully his wife isn't mad. Dude, when I went there, I dyed
I
my
haven't
hair
met
when I
his
went to
wife.
the
Yeah.
when I went to the Blizzard headquarters. I dyed my hair because they were all doing it for BlizzCon, and I ruined like their guest bed because I
Oh.
didn't know, like, this was the first time I ever had I got my hair dyed. Apparently it like bleeds.
Mm.
Like the color just like comes out, especially after you take a shower or something. So like it literally looked like it killed a Smurf. I didn't know this stuff, so like I just like obviously lay down and I just like looked like I had murdered a bunch of Smurfs all over all their pillows and sheets and like everything. Like it was really bad. Apparently you're like that's a thing. They didn't tell me. It was real bad. It was real bad. I was like,
Man.
I'm so sorry. I'll pay for like a new pillow or whatever. Like no, 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 no. I'm just like, oh, we're cool now though. But I was like, just like, I don't
Dude,
know if I'll give them PTSD, dude.
no, man. It's always like your boy's like girlfriend slash wife, and she's like peeved at all of her guys friends because the guy has to be domesticated, but the guy's friends are not domesticated.
Oh yeah, no. That although she was I have not tried things like sushi at that point and like just random things.
Oh,
So she
Jaeger's
was like
good for
really
you.
excited to like take me to all these places in LA that were just like, oh, this
Where,
is like really good sushi. This is really
where'd you
good.
go?
Like, I don't know the place. It was really fancy though. I
Was
felt
in
so bad.
Pasadena? Was in Pasadena?
It might have been. It was super fan. It was like I literally felt so bad because I went to the bathroom and spit half of it out. It was so bad.
What was it?
Like it
Oyster?
was no, it was like it was sushimi apparently. It wasn't
Oh,
like
sashimi.
sushi.
Okay.
So it was like I never had raw fish before. It was just so bad. It was like to me,
You get
it
used
was
to
like so it was
it.
so strong. I was like like she was like, "Oh, do you love it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love it." Oh, it's so good. Hold on, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick.
Oh man,
It just,
Joa. I'm just kidding.
I'm in the bathroom texting Cork shot like, "Fuck, what do I do? How am I gonna get through like
A lot.
more?" He's like, just get through it, man. Make her happy. I'm like, okay, I got you. I got you. I can do this. I'm strong.
I can picture him saying that stuff. You want to talk about your Hearthstone career?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, that's probably the least interesting thing, but
That's no. Here's the thing. This is what I've learned. It's not interesting to you, or it's not interesting to you because it's like your internal journey, and you probably are harsh on yourself because you mainly remember the games you lose and not the you know, necessarily the victories. But from the outside perspective, like your fans or people interested in the game, they're like that journey to them is something that they don't experience, and they that's what they
yeah,
want to hear. So I from a that's been my experience because like in StarCraft I clearly have achievements, but in my head I can only remember winning like one or two games and losing like a bajillion games.
yeah. I mean, even like I'll have people message me like, hey, like, why haven't you streamed in like a minute? I'm like, oh, I forgot that people actually cared about watching me play
Yeah,
Hearthstone or like actually like valued my opinion. Like, oh, what do you think about this, and this? And I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like I'm like right now I'm like ranked 10 or something legend, which
sick.
is like top 10 NA, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a thing people care about. I
Yeah.
forgot. Like, you know what I
Because
mean? Like to
you
me,
take it for granted because you have like so many achievements, and your standards are so high because like rank 10 you're like, well, I need to be rank 1, right? Like
yeah, pretty much. I'm just like,
it doesn't count until you hit rank 1. I know, don't worry, I know.
yeah, but like other people care, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a thing I forgot. But yeah, so Hearthstone, I started so in 2015, Pokemon Worlds was in Boston. I went to New York to hang out with like foreign friends who were like doing tourist traps in like New York and stuff. And there's a tournament, a Hearthstone tournament that was in New York that was like a tavern hero type thing or something along the lines of that.
You're gonna have to tell me these things, I have no idea.
It's just like it's an official Blizzard tournament, but it's like a small, it's like 50 people, something like
Are
that.
those the fireside things or
It's like a bigger fireside gathering,
okay?
effectively, that like can give you points towards like actually qualifying for real events. And I had played Hearthstone. I'd been like a top legend player, but I never
It's
looked
been
into competing at all because I was too busy with Pokemon.
hmm.
Well, I met the owners of a team called Vicious Syndicate, which is kind of known now for their Data Reaper stuff and some other things in the Hearthstone community. I don't know if you've ever heard of Vicious Syndicate or not.
I honestly, I'm so detached. Like I, yeah. And go ahead. Like just assume I don't know anything. But
It's like it's an esports team. I ended up winning that tournament, like that 50-person tournament or whatever. Met the owners. They're like, hey, you should consider going into Hearthstone. This is like around the time when it's popping off. This is like the first World Championships, or like that era. They're like, this is gonna be way bigger than Pokemon. Like you could actually do things. Like you could stream, you could make money. Like I'm over here grinding, like reinvesting anything I get to just pay for my next trip. And I'm kind of burnt out on Pokemon at this point. I've been playing since like for about a decade or so, and I'm just kind of like I didn't really like the meta, so it's like okay, this is gonna be like after Worlds this year for Pokemon, I'm just gonna go all in on Hearthstone and see where it takes me. And that's what I did. I went all in on Hearthstone. Vicious Syndicate, their original roster of people that they picked up was me, Shoop, Cora, who's now working for Blizzard, um, a Demigod, who was like a really good player at one point back in the day. It was a bunch of people um, that were pretty much we were all nobodies back then. That we were just like kind of just like people who were interested in getting better. We were all good at the game, and now we're all like seasoned veterans. I would say like accomplished people. Like half of the people that were on that original roster like work for Blizzard now, like that kind of thing.
Career.
So
I mean, career progressions. It's you know, life choices. I don't know what to say.
it's kind of crazy, and like it all happened because I randomly was like one of my friends who I was with was like, hey, we both play Hearthstone. There's this Hearthstone thing like 15 minutes away. Like while we're in New York randomly, just to hang out with like European people who wanted to do tourist attractions effectively. And we're just like, yeah, we've been here a million times. Like I don't give a shit about like seeing the Statue of Liberty or some shit. Like that's so boring. Yeah, I just don't care about that.
Oh man, that's so crazy because like in the pre-internet days, you would see like a picture of like something great, and you're like, oh, I want to see it in person. But now it's like the internet, like this stuff is so common. You see videos and like it just, and then you see it in person, you're like, I could have just like watched this on YouTube, or seen or
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
It's also I've just been to New York before. I just went there to hang out with the
The
homies, and
peeps.
then there
Yeah.
was a Hearthstone thing, and one thing led to another. I got really interest into it because of the people that were like on this team. It was actually Zixo was a part of it too back then, if you know who that is.
No,
He's like
I just pop in like, I mean, I have like, I had I have two companies, a job, and just like I always tell Dan Zach, I'm like,
you're
okay, I'm gonna compete this. And I do. Like I peaked out at like 35 in Legend, and just like there's a wild open. Like I came in like 25th or something like that. So like when I commit, I could do it, but I just don't fucking have time, But
yeah,
like
it's
it
really
takes
hard to get
takes a
that
lot of work.
passion.
Yeah, well, it also takes a lot of work, and just like, I have a confession. I don't use software. Like,
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I don't really do that either, but I it's not like a thing that I have to do, right? Like the software is already in my head because I've been playing for so long. Like
yeah.
it's people always ask me that too when I stream. They're just like, "Why aren't you using HS Replay?" I'm just like, I just don't care. Like it doesn't matter to me whether it's on or off. It's like it doesn't change anything to
Oh,
me.
okay. So one of the things is like when I was competing, like Dan Zach was supposed to help me with the software, and then we had a scheduling. When I'm focusing, yeah, I don't need the software because I'm remembering, the cards, the deck lists, my own. But yeah, like if I'm lazy and not concentrating, it would definitely help.
Oh no, it especially if you're not like I don't know if you're a newer player or just like not
Oh
somebody who
yeah,
plays professionally. It's like that
definitely.
stuff is insanely good. Like coming back after taking like a month break using HS Replay because I have no idea like what the meta is or whatever. Like I don't know, that stuff just helps a lot. Like even remembering what's in my own deck. Like I'll just copy a deck list from online and be like, okay, I don't even know what's in my deck. Like
Yeah.
okay, now I know what's in my deck because I can see it on the side of my screen. Like it helps. It helps, and I only don't need it when I'm like in the zone like I am right now, where I'm just like super
Yeah.
into the game and just like very I don't know on top of the ball, so to speak. Like I just actually want to win. Like, a lot of the time when I don't want to be rank one legend, I just don't play the game. Like I'll stream. Like the meme is that I stream once a month when I'm not playing, like just to farm sub money, because like you have to like stream once a month to get
Oh really?
their auto renewal thing. So I'll literally just stream once a month to farm the sub money, and then just disappear for another month. Like when I'm not interested in the game, it's really hard for me to actually like knowing that I'm not like competing to be like rank one or like competing for some specific goal. I'd rather just not play. That sounds so weird, but I just don't play.
No, no, like I totally understand. This is when people ask me, they're like, "Oh, do you play StarCraft anymore?" I'm just like, I can't because like you put your heart and soul into it, and then like you can't just play things for fun or casually, because if you're gonna try it, you got to go all the way. Like for like Magic and Hearthstone, because I was never like a thing, I could just be like, okay, whatever, dude. Like I'm not a
Yeah.
thing. I could just like punt or whatever. But like anything, I actually tried to be like the best I could be, and the best in the world. I can't go back, and just like it just hurts too much.
Oh yeah. I mean, it, like for me to like play Hearthstone, I don't know if I would ever be able to do that. Like I would rather just not play and just do something else. I don't
Yeah.
know. It sounds weird. It
No,
sounds
no,
weird
no, no. I
because
totally understand, but this is good for like the audience to just like an explanation, because it's like from our side, it's like losing or not hitting our potential is just like it just hurts too much.
yeah, it's just
I
like
don't
I
know.
would rather just invest that time into doing other like in that time that was when I was working with like Logan and like all these other crazy people and like doing the Pokemon stuff and literally just like I don't know. It was like crazy stuff that I was just working on it like 24/7 trying to get that stuff to happen. And it's pretty cool to see like I don't know these famous people being interested in the Pokemon TCG and then like see it blow. Not only like see them interested, see them make content, and then see the whole like I'm pretty sure you've probably even heard of it at this point, like about how the whole market has just like been crazy because of all these famous people just opening Pokemon cards and shit like that. Like
I've heard of stuff, but it's different because unlike like Hearthstone, Starcraft, or Warcraft, Pokemon actually has intellectual property from the cartoon and the Nintendo games that like it all piggybacks on another. So it's not as dry of a like if they did Magic cards, I think that would be a bigger jump.
yeah,
There's like Pokemon does have intellectual property and marketing depth that Magic doesn't, and
does
yeah, it just
will
doesn't
never
have.
have.
Yeah,
Like the only thing that would compare to Pokemon is probably Yu-Gi-Oh because people
yeah.
play watch the show or
But Pokemon is just like, I mean, even
iconic.
even I watch some stuff like
Yeah.
for Pokemon, and I'm like way older than you. So
Hey man, it's just crazy to see something that you've been doing for like a decade not only blow up and like become a thing that like these people that other people think are cool are interested in. So like before like I don't know, 5 years ago, like I'd get made fun of for playing Pokemon or collecting Pokemon cards, and now it's mainstream and all these people are like trying to get into it because of money mainly, I would assume, like all the sneakerheads and all the I don't know, reseller type people that are buying out these PS5s now are also into Pokemon now because they see these like I don't know, it just kind of went mainstream and it's crazy to not only see that having been in it, but also to have been a catalyst for it in some way. Like
it's
a
like,
very even if it's just a very small part, like
sure, I mean, like
it
any piece is a piece. Like
it's still kind of surreal to me.
I'm largely forgotten in StarCraft, but I literally jump started the first 2 years, and like some stuff that I did, like Pimpus plays or something, is like it's legacied in, but just like the fact that it's even mentioned in Elon Musk's like Neuralink presentation, I'm like, whoa, and it blew up in South Korea. Just like I obviously StarCraft is something, or any real time game. Like when you get older, you just aren't as fast anymore, and you aren't as sharp. So you
Like
gotta
those
call it.
boomer mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta call it quits one of these days. But the fact that even it became a cultural phenomenon in South Korea, plus like just in esports, launched esports, I would say, is just like, yeah. I mean, that's to this day, it's probably my most noteworthy achievement. Even, you know,
Even though yeah, like people might not know you personally like by name for it.
yeah. And part of it is like because there were no replays back then. Uh, it's hard, and like there was not much video, so there's just like photos of me, and there's like I wrote a bunch of stuff, and you could Google me, but largely just forgotten.
Yeah. It's okay. Now you're known for poker and all the
Yeah,
poker stuff.
which is like I guess ironic because like and I at peak I've been like doing well in like the biggest games, but I'm just like nowhere near a goat. But like I'm an operator now. Like I run live with a bike. I have casino games And like I'm just when in the Wild Open, in the rounders quote, that's like, for the first time I felt alive. It's like, yeah, like when you compete in any game, it makes you feel
It's
alive.
good.
Yeah, it feels good. But then like you, unless you're going all out, then you can't really do that. And just being an operator is just so different, because when you're a competitor, you're always like, I gotta make the best play. I'm cutthroat. But as an operator, it's different. It's like more of a survival game. It's more important that things don't go wrong than things are optimal.
So I have a question for you. Is it more pressure or less pressure on you? Like, are you more anxious going into that day than you are as a competitor or as somebody who runs?
It's very different. They're very different emotions. Being a competitor is the most intense stress, and I would never take that away from anyone. That's why, having been a competitor, I always respect the people that, even if they don't like aren't the best, just their effort and their grind to get as high skill as they can. Because as an operator, you prepare as much as possible. There's anxiety, but after it runs, you just kind of let it run, and the day's over. If something happens wrong, you're like, okay, we'll fix it next time.
Hmm.
Was a competitor, like, you know how it is when you're doing practice games, you're like, fuck it, I lose. You don't want to lose, but you're like, whatever. Game
Yeah.
time for competition, you fucking lose, you're out. That's
Yeah,
like
no.
all of your effort just gone. Like if you're an operator, like you're you're still gonna get credit for whatever goes right, and a lot of times it does go right. Like sometimes you get negative feedback, like, oh, you should have done this, and you're, from the operator perspective, like, I just tried to do as much as I could as stably as possible,
Right.
and
Right. Like,
that's it. Like, if you don't like it, but I'm okay with myself, I'm at peace. But as a competitor, I may not be at peace myself, but the results are there for a lifetime.
so more consistent dopamine hits being an operator, but not as
Yeah.
big as being a competitor if you
Um,
do well.
I'm not a purist operator, so there are definitely operators who are super passionate, and I, of course, admire them. Perfectionists, like micromanage, like something like Steve Jobs, like he was known to just like have opinions on every little bit. I'm not like that. I'm just like macro picture, stable. I'll improve as much as I can each iteration, but man, if it runs stably, 95%
Good enough.
thumbs up, 5% thumbs down, I'm good. um, I'm always thinking how to improve, but like I just have too much to worry about. I'm like too old, but yeah, I definitely don't want to take away from like more purist operators, because honestly, in my heart, I'm more of a competitor. Like,
Yeah.
but you just like, you know, sometimes it's not your time. It's time to like do other things.
I mean, I feel like everybody moves on at some point. It's just how you make that transition, and some people just choose not to and they get screwed.
Yeah,
But some people do choose to stream. Some people do choose to work for the company or work for, like, use their skill set as a
transfer it
way
over.
to, yeah, transfer it over and
Value.
like make it real world value. Like you were saying, it's like, I feel it's like sports. Like you always see this people who were competing in sports, like
They become
afterwards they become
coaches.
coaches or they become commentators
Yeah.
or they become involved in the world in some aspect, even if it's just running a show or something like that. Like literally anything. It's like that's what's gonna have to happen for these esports pros as well. I mean, for a lot of them, it already is turning into that, but going forward in the future, it's like that, like you were saying before, it's just very huge to recognize that that is actually the most realistic path that you should be aspiring to go on.
So I know we want to get into Hearthstone Crow too, but like while we're hot on this topic, one of the big differences between normal sports and esports is that normal sports, the rules don't change that often, but esports is ever shifting. Like the games can have a finite shelf life. That's
Right.
problematic for like a long-term career. Obviously, skills are going to transfer, theories are going to transfer, execution is going to transfer, but it's never the pure game. At best, the franchise name, the intellectual property of the franchise like moves forward. I think League of Legends might be the first game where if they just keep adding characters, it might last forever. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or other MOBAs, but like, or even Hearthstone. Like if you keep adding sets, but Magic's like that too. But like at some point, like I'm old. Like when I read a card, I don't want to read an essay. It's like, what does this thing
Yeah.
do? That's so like Magic the Gathering now barely resembles the game 25
Yeah.
years ago.
I think it's more of a genre thing than a specific game. Like, I think anybody who's good at one game can be good at another game of a similar genre. Like, I think a lot of people are going to transfer if they specifically just want to compete, like you said with Frozen earlier, like these people are going to transfer to poker
Poker.
or a different game. Like if Hearthstone dies, all the Hearthstone pros are not going to disappear. They're going to go to a different game
Like
in a
DCG.
similar genre,
Yeah.
whatever that may be. Or they'll just become like if they built up a following, they'll just become a variety streamer, and then that's where they'll end up.
Shout out to Brian Kibler.
Exactly. Like they're. I don't think it's confined. Like you have to make yourself not confined to the game. I think that's the goal, is to be able to just transcend whatever game that you are competing in.
Yeah, I agree. I see a lot of negative feedback, just like I wasted so much time in this game and got nothing about. It's just like, I mean, I've been saying this for like over 20 years. If you spend all this time in the game, do you want to work in the game industry? Because if you do, you didn't waste your time. Just take whatever experience you had, transfer it, add other skill sets, and now you have real world value.
I still don't think you ever really waste your time. I don't know. I feel like the skill sets for any card game, like even recently, like I was playing poker with Corkstron a little bit. He was screen sharing. He was playing like a mixed games and stuff like that, and games that I've obviously never heard of before. Like I was able to pick up like very easily what was happening and like what was a good play, what was a bad play. It's like that's because of all the card game experience. Like it transfers over if you want it to other things that are similar in nature, but maybe even critical thinking skills as a whole as well. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that's true, but it's possible.
I mean, I think, yeah, it's totally true. Just like a lot of people from the old school Magic Gathering days transfer into poker. I'm sure, Hearthstone players are going to transfer into poker. It's just a lot of similar skill sets. Like, and it's funny because I have a real time strategy game background, so I know some of the pitfalls of real time strategy players transferring into poker. One of the things is there isn't much bluffing in real time strategy. There's some, but not nearly as much as like DCGs or CCGs. So one of the things that I had trouble with transferring over to poker was like the big bluffs. It was like, oh, I can just put in a whole bunch of chips and they're gonna fold. But obviously once you get used to it, it's not that difficult of a concept to transfer.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, habit wise, like real time strategy players just tend to have it.
One day I'll take poker seriously. It's hard when you love another game. Like until I'm actually just like done with Hearthstone, like I was with Pokemon when I moved on, I feel like I'll never be able to commit fully to something else like poker or chess or whatever it is that comes next.
Yeah, and there's so many games now. I totally agree. Just like you could play poker recreational, obviously, but you have good people like Jaeger's way still in the mix, and has the heart more of a heart for it than I do for sure. But yeah, I mean you have a lot of good influences coming in. It's huge. Like being a friendly guy and having a network. You could ask like a ton of people, and you're going to be able to, instead of the guy scouring for hand histories on Reddit or 2+2, you can just like ask all of us, and you can make a decision yourself, because like maybe we're all right. I'll give you the same answer. Maybe we're all wrong, and you have the right answer.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really fun talking to people who are like very smart, strategical wise. Like when Danzak wanted to play Hearthstone, I coached him before he was. I mean, he did get good, but like when I was like, I really enjoyed coaching him because
He was like,
he like he just gets it, and then you're like, oh, okay, this person like knows their shit. Like even if they don't know Hearthstone, like they have the mind for it. You know what I mean? Like they have the mindset for it as well.
So when he was like level 10 or level 5, he was like, "Oh, these guys are like so good." I'm like, "Dan, you're going to get there very quickly. Like I've seen this process like a million times. I've done it myself." Like and he's just like, "No, no, man, legend." I'm like, and then like a couple months later, he's like, "Oh yeah, I just got legend, like like in my bed." I'm like, "Yeah, I told you. I've seen the drill like many different games. Like it's not, if you have it, you have like if you have the aptitude for it, it'll just come. It just takes
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
It's partly why I want to play poker too, is because like obviously the money part is appealing, but then at the same time I'm just like, but I would rather do this. And I'm just like, I don't know at what point there'll be like a tipping point where I'm just like
there's there's a
maybe I should
problem with
learn poker.
poker. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna just like learn it naturally, especially if it influences like Jaeger. But just like the problem with poker is like if you think Hearthstone and other games are repetitive, poker gets infinitely more repetitive. It's the same 52 cards, and like some of the concepts are just like universal, like hand strength, position, and aggression, which is like you're if you're just trying to make money, like you're supposed to just play against weaker competition. It's not a sport or a competition unless you're at the very top level, in which now you're dealing with people who have played like I'm on like year 18, but some people are on like year 30. Like Dan Zach's on like year 15, and he's unashamedly running a ton of software and just like seeing all these like scenarios and studied them for like
Yeah. I've been in a call with like when he plays Hearthstone, he'll have like a lot of the time he'll be screen sharing. He'll just have like these poker sim things on the other screen and like just be doing both at the same time. So I'd like sort of like learn poker through, I don't know, random things like that. Like that's where I've learned most of things I know from poker is from like being in calls with Jaeger and Dan for 8 hours a day,
it's
and
good.
they're just doing both. Or like we'll be taking a break from Hearthstone and they'll just like pull up poker and chill while I'm like doing something else.
There's a brain hack which is even if you don't fully know what's going on, if you just like listen to them talk, your brain once you're it's like Inception. Once you're introduced to the idea, your brain will like passively just like develop, and then like you might ask them a question like a day later, a year later, but you would have never even thought of that question unless you were exposed to like certain phenomena and data.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I love that stuff, dude. I love learning and all that crap. But yeah, I kind of went off the Hearthstone stuff. I competed in that. I I won
Dude,
that. I
bro.
got on this Vision Syndicate team. I won a bunch of things. I won like there was open cups that counted for points back in the day. Now they're like two on every weekend. They used to be every single day. There's a point where won six in a row, like back to back to back to back to back. It was like absolutely insane. And Blizzard ended up making a rule that like you could only win one per week. And then they took away like most of the points that I had won. So I was pretty sad, but it didn't matter at that point. I was already like the best in the world at that point after that like spree, and I was just chilling. Then after that I qualified for like all the Masters tours. I went to a bunch of majors. I've done well at I don't know. I've done well at a lot of tournaments. I've only ever won one major, but I've done well at a lot of different things.
I saw a laundry list of achievements.
The ones on like the Wikipedia stuff are not. There's not too many that were like official ones back then, or like that counted for that stuff. Because this was like I don't even know. This was like so long ago, like 2015, 2016, and then I got second at PAX South, and then I got introduced to the co-owner of Panda Global at PAX South because Geico was sponsoring that esports team, and the person who was like the Geico guy who like ran it all was like I don't know, I fucked with him. I didn't know who he was. I just know that like I was like super degenerate around him, and like we just like partied together and shit. I fucked with them, and he was like, "Yo, you would like these people. You should like actually try to take this esports stuff seriously if you're gonna like travel and compete." 'Cause this was like, I don't know. I had just had like the heart surgery 2016. After that, I was like, I just want to travel to events. I just want to have fun. And then I did, and then I did well. And then I met that dude. I partied with him. I hung out with him, and then he introduced me to the co-owner of Panda Global, and then I got second at the event that I met the co-owner at, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, you should take this seriously." Like, the his name is Derek. Derek was like, "Yeah, like Derek tells me you're like one of the best like in the world right now. Like, you should join our team. Like, you should take this seriously." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Like, why not? I have nothing better to do right now with my life. Like, I'm just trying to have fun." I'd already graduated college at that point. Like, I'm just like in a weird state where I'm just like coming off of surgery, just trying to have fun, enjoy my life, just like make the most out of it. And then I won. Literally, I got signed the day before. I got my jersey the day of PAX East, and then I won the whole tournament like immediately after getting signed and like it getting announced, and like ESPN
Sick.
did an article and all this stuff. It
Sick.
was crazy. And then I got like third the next month or something, or like top four or top eight or something at like the next major. I was killing it that year. It was a good time. It was like a good spree of a few months, and then I just kind of
And
qualified for everything after that, and haven't really had any huge spikes, but I also haven't really been able to do too much. I don't know. I've been in a weird spot like the last couple of years. I missed so many events. 2019 because of the heart shit. Like, I literally missed majority of the events. I think I went to like one or two, and that was it.
so
So
then you went into. You've been streaming this whole time on Hearthstone, or when did you
yeah,
start streaming?
I started streaming in 2015. Actually, I've been streaming for a long time. Have a I used to have a much bigger following like 5 years ago, which is weird because
What
I
was it
started.
weird?
I don't, because it's like I'm much better and much more known in the Hearthstone community now than I was back then, and but Hearthstone was also much more popular. I think that's why in like 2015, 2016. I started streaming because I wanted to teach my friends who played Pokemon how to play the game, and I wanted to teach other people who were asking me how to play the game, but like Skype didn't like it wasn't good enough to like screen share with that many people. So I just was like, okay, I'll try this. Like, I'll just like I can just stream on Twitch. Like, I didn't have a webcam or anything. I just had a microphone. It was literally just to pretty much be a screen sharing thing with like a bunch of people. Like, that's what I was using Twitch for, was a way to screen share with a bunch of people that wouldn't crash my computer. It was very weird. And then other people started watching me because I was high rank. And then more people started watching me. And then I was like, wait, why are people watching? Like, I did this just to like
Help out
teach.
your buddies.
Yeah, literally just because like I couldn't screen share on Skype with that many people. So it kind of I did that consistently. I averaged like 200 viewers at one point for for a hot minute. I got to like around 200 subscribers. Like, it was going well, and then I just kind of got busy. I actually started competing in Hearthstone. Like, I actually started traveling. I kind of stopped. Like, that was the biggest mistake I made, was I didn't stream consistently after I was doing well, because I was like, the circuit was so intensive. Like, it was literally back to back to back weekends. Like, I wasn't streaming because I was literally just like recovering from a tournament and then traveling. And then I would sleep, I would wake up, I'd play in the tournament, I'd go home, I'd kind of be dead for a couple days. I'd Then I would travel again. So I didn't stream. Like, the biggest regret I have was like just saying, actually, who's a Hearthstone pro, he told me, he's like, after I won PAX, he told me, he's like, you should not go to any more majors. Like you should just stay home. Like you're already qualified. You should just stay home and just stream. And I didn't do that. I just kept going to more majors because I was like, oh, I just won like $4,000 this week. Why would I not go to the next one? Like I got second, I got first, and then after that I got like third or fourth. Like I just want to. I'm just gonna keep doing this. Like what are you talking about? Like I'm not gonna stay home and stream. I want to keep winning.
I
And
played
I
that
should have stayed
guy.
home.
I played that Just Saying guy in the Wild Open, but no, it's true. Like you just don't have enough time and energy for everything, so you have to pick and choose, and that's
I
like
should have picked streaming. I would have made much more money in the long run if I had just like after winning PAX East, if I had just
yeah,
stayed home, not traveled again for like the rest of the year and just streamed every day, I would be infinitely better off than me. Like, okay, yeah, I might have won like a few thousand extra dollars or whatever in that next month of me going to literally back to back to back to back tournaments and whatnot. But because you don't win, like nobody cares about somebody getting like $1,000 for top
sure,
eight or
yeah,
like whatever it is that you do. Nobody cares about that unless I was winning. Like staying home and streaming would have been way better in the long run. Like that's more consistent money, more brand building. Like I regret I should have listened. I should have just been like, okay, I'm not gonna do this. Like I'm not gonna go to everything. I'm not gonna like push myself and do this. I'm just gonna stay home and stream and like build up my brand because I have like the attention from winning.
yep,
But I didn't do that, and then I didn't win again. I did well, but I didn't win, so you don't nobody cares.
yeah,
So I just kind of like the hype kind of died down, and then eventually like I don't know, I start streaming again. It's like I have like okay viewership, but it's like nothing compared to what it would have been if I'd actually.
sure. But this is exactly what this podcast is for. You have to make life choices. So, like just like you didn't do, I kind of learned my lessons. That's why I'm doing Live at the Bike and like other stuff because it's like I'm just do I keep playing, grinding as a player, or hybrid being a player and having an operation? Um, it's hard because you, in your heart, you definitely have a preference, and I'm still a competitor by heart. But like, if it's not happening, or just like I'm too old, or my body can't take it anymore, then it's time to move on. But educating the public that there are options. Like it's not just like streaming or operator and competitor. You could like work for a company. You could hybrid skills that may not even exist yet. Like a lot of the jobs now are just like streaming didn't exist back when I was playing.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that can exist in the future. Just try to find ways that you could transfer this experience into like real world value, whether it's credibility or you know like monetary exchange.
Yeah,
It's
I'd say the biggest thing is just don't be a toxic like asshole.
sure.
Like those people burn so many bridges. Like that is like I don't know how people recover from that stuff. That's just like okay, well, you just screwed yourself for like your whole
Yeah.
anything you want to do in this game in esports like you just can't anymore.
Yeah.
Like you piss off the wrong people. Like GG. Like
I
it's
agree.
crazy. Or just like most Hearthstone pros right now don't even have an esports team. Like I'm one of the only Hearthstone players with an esports team, and I'm not even in Grandmasters. It's like people are just so bad at seeing the big picture. A lot of people are just like, "Oh, this new team that popped up is willing to pay me $500 more in this established team per month. I'm gonna go join this new team," and then that new team dies because they have no idea
Run
what
out of
they're doing.
business. Yeah.
They just have then they die, and then they're like, "Oh, looking for a new team," and then their old team's not gonna take them back anymore
No, of
because
course not. You left. you know.
like you screwed them effectively. Like
You know.
you allowed yourself to get poached just for like a little bit of extra money.
It's life
And
choices. I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen, but these are things like being more business savvy or just like longevity. And this you learn this in poker too, or just like life. Like this is real life. Like longevity is actually likely more important than peak performance. Peak performance will get you that initial boost, but it's gonna fade. Like you may not be on the top of your game. Somebody better might come along. So like you said, right when you're hot off the trails, you know, think about how to parlay stuff, because like I didn't like push the media attention that I had for StarCraft or just like push for endorsements. I got like some offers, but like I didn't know how to negotiate. Like the way I was brought up, like I just had no clue. It was very undeveloped. But you know, even if like listening to this podcast with audience, you don't know what to do. If good things happen to you, ask around, ask people you trust, like Google it, and then see. Just have it in the back of your mind, because no one's gonna do things optimally. Everyone's gonna make mistakes, but this is real life. Like want to we want better things for the people following in our footsteps. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I don't think we screwed up like completely, but there's definitely some like macromanagement mistakes that are more about awareness than.
I think we've all made good mistakes and bad mistakes. Like
Sure.
I made bad mistakes by not streaming, but I made a good mistake, or I made a good decision when there was a point where my friend Dr. J got on a team called Space Station, and they offered me like $1,000 more than what I get now, and I didn't accept it because I was like I talked to the manager or something, like or they messaged me and they like told me about this like plan, and Dr. J was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this. They're gonna get a gaming house, blah blah blah." I was like, "They're gonna run out of money and
Yeah.
like so fast." And then like 6 months later, like none of those people that joined the team are on the team anymore because they obviously can't. Like the math doesn't make sense. Like you can't
Yeah.
pay these people this amount of money and expect to also make money. And like these people are also like not content creator, you know what I mean? It's like the math just doesn't add up. They just want to have a Hearthstone team just to do it, and it's not gonna last. And I'm just like, no, I'm good. Like I'm just gonna stay where I am. Like these people know what they're doing. Like they're not overpaying. Like they're not over like
Extending.
overextending. Yeah, like they actually have a plan to like a 5-year plan. Like to see where they're going. Like whereas the other, like a lot of these teams are just like, all right, I'm gonna drop $1 million and get these players and then do this and this. Sometimes it works out if they have actual like
Sure.
big money people, but like if they're not sponsored by like people like friggin', I don't know, like LeBron James or whoever else is in esports now, like whoever else has a hand, or like Steve Aoki has an esports team. If they're not sponsored by
really?
like
Sick.
actual, like yeah, there's a lot of people in esports that you wouldn't know. I think even Drake's in esports now. He does 100 Thieves or something. Like if you're not sponsored by actual big money, like
Good luck.
yeah, exactly.
Good
It's
luck. GLHF. But yeah, that's like a lot of lessons like survival. Like when Dennis Fong did Gamers.com, like over 20 years ago now, when they got $11 million in funding from CMGI, like just burned money because you think you're just like never gonna run out. But like, you know, the same thing with poker. Like when I had a ton, I'm just like, oh, you know, being a millionaire is cool, right? It's a lot of money. No, it's not a lot of money. You try to do stuff and just like it burns really fast, especially with the cost of living nowadays. You know, so
I think I'm just like addicted. Like I'm really lucky I was addicted to collecting Pokemon cards because like that paid off in spades now. But like I think that's just dumb luck at the same time. It's just like
that's not total luck. I mean, if you see something that's going to appreciate in value, you invest, you know, study and money into it, then it's going to appreciate. What's so dumb about that?
I think it's dumb. It's dumb.
I mean,
luck
dumb
that,
luck. I mean, it's not
like,
total dumb luck. You know.
I mean, in the sense that like that's what I enjoyed. Like it wasn't something that was like I don't know, like something that wasn't gonna give you like returns over time, right? Like the things that I enjoyed were like collecting sneakers, collecting Pokemon cards, like things like even sneakers. Like I have sneakers that like I never touch them. They just are like on display in my room just for me to look at that appreciate in value like crazy. It's like I think I just got lucky that the things that I actually enjoyed collecting were just became collectible over time.
Sure.
I guess that's where I think I got lucky, was that like that stuff became worth
You have
something.
good taste. You have good taste. That's how the dumb luck came in.
I guess apparently. I mean, that would be the opposite if that didn't happen, but
I mean, some
I
people
got
have bad
lucky.
taste. They invest in things that don't happen.
Yeah.
So how can we help, like, with your health conditions? Like, is there anything we could do, like awareness, or just like
Uh, I'm in limbo right
donations?
now. I'm literally in limbo right now. So the big thing is for me is like I literally have like this was one thing that they went over with me was like you have to do like a fundraising type thing once you need it because you can't it's so dumb. Like even the hospitals are aware how fucked the insurance aspect of it is, so you can't have a certain amount
Oh,
of money.
you have to time it like right before you
So
need
yeah,
it.
you can't have a certain amount of money. I think it's like $3,000. Like I can never have more than $3,000 in assets that like people know of. Like you know what I mean? I can never
Yeah.
have that. My family is never allowed to have over a certain amount of money. Otherwise, you don't qualify for the specific insurances that allow you to actually afford the surgery and more importantly, the medicines that you need for the first, I think it's like the first 3 months post surgery. Like that's like the most important time. And right now I'm just in limbo. It's like you have a point where like you have to raise money and then like it's it's really weird. I'm just kind of in limbo right now until it's time to actually get the surgery, honestly. Like until they tell me like okay, coronavirus is over, like we feel comfortable moving forward with the process. Like okay, now we're looking at the timeline of like you'll probably get a heart within like 2 or 3 months. Let's get on the ball. Let's like make sure you have the funds to afford this comfortably. Like they don't want you to worry about money, so you have to like they help you actually fundraise and stuff like that.
Okay.
And like I did like there's nothing I can do right now, which is why it's shitty. Like it's like you have this big looming thing to
I know.
look forward to
Yeah.
in the worst way possible. To look forward to in the worst way possible. But you also can't do anything today to like, you know what I mean? It's not like procrastinating. Like I'm not like, oh, I like I have to raise funds, but I'm gonna wait. It's like I literally can't do anything until it's time to do stuff, which is unknown. Like there was a timeline before coronavirus. There was a timeline. Like it's comforting knowing like when things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
But now the timeline is like, who the fuck knows? Like I have no idea what the timeline is anymore. The timeline is if I'm in the hospital, I'll have to get it. And if not, then when the coronavirus stuff is over, when they're more comfortable doing it, then I'll get a real timeline. It's crazy. It's craziness. I have no idea.
So
Like
that is
there's
the very big similarity between operator and competitor. Because competitor, like when the tournament is, the time frame that you can to prepare. Operator, like something can come up that's bad, or something's going to happen in the future, but you don't know when. You don't know if a deal's going to go through. You lock a deal, now everyone has to adapt. In that case, it's probably a little bit more similar to what you're going through, I guess.
yeah, I mean, a little bit different, but
I know,
it
life or
is.
death for you, but like
It's
little
just
bit
it's
different.
it's just weird. It's like people ask me stuff like that, and I'm bad at answering because I don't like there is nothing, and that's so weird to say. It's like no, like donating any like I can't accept anything. Like even when I was doing these deals for like Logan Paul and like these people, it's just like oh like what can I
What do
get
you
you
want a
for a
piece? Yeah,
finder's fee? Yeah, yeah, like a
yeah.
finder's fee or something. I'm like I'll take Pokemon cards. Like I don't know. Like I literally like I had to explain to him like I can't
Yeah.
accept anything. Like I'll take it like basically I just have an
A foil
IOU from
Charizard.
people. Like it's just like an IOU at this point, which is fine. I don't care. I talk to them enough. I trust them. Even if I get screwed over, it was a good experience. I really don't care. It was a good distraction. It was a fun adventure. But like there's just nothing. I just have to just it's just a waiting game. I just chill, do nothing, and eventually I'll find out what I have to do. Like once it's time. But yeah, I don't know. Nothing right now. Just chilling.
Well, when you need it, you have me on Live at the Bike, and I could,
I appreciate it.
shout it out.
I appreciate it. I am hopeful that I will not have to worry about how to afford this operation that is going to have to happen. I'm more worried about whether or not I'm going to go crazy before it actually happens.
Don't do that, man. Don't do that. We're all crazy. We're all crazy, fam.
Yeah, no. It's just like
Dude,
a it's just wacky. I'm just chilling right now. Trying to
I've
enjoy what I can.
yeah, I've I had definitely some not so good times since quarantine, but I'm really working on it, like meditating, just like talking to people. Even these podcasts fucking help. Like it's just just connecting with people and something about just like obviously in this form you see somebody and there's something, and then you see people that you know in real life and just like adds another layer, and then
Yeah.
it may,
I
like if this experience is that bad, I don't want to go to jail for sure.
but yeah. I think that keeping busy is the key to or just keeping some type of structure or like having goals or even if the goal is like I want to do this podcast, like just having some type of structure or just something to work towards, I think is
Oh yeah,
important.
no, totally agree. And luckily, my network's pretty ambitious and creative, so I watched them evolve during this process. And sure, some people definitely get slammed. I got slammed, but we just keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
how do you feel like gaming and esports in 2020? How does it in the public view, or
Oh, it's great. Esports blew up. My everything that has to do with esports blew up. All my teammates have blown up, like on YouTube, Twitter, everything. Like everything is up since quarantine in terms of esports viewership, amount of people playing games, um, mainstream attention, whatever you want to, whatever it is that has to do with esports, probably benefited a lot from quarantine, which is
oh yeah.
ironically like it makes sense, but it's like this whole situation of the coronavirus stuff sucks, but it also in the long run probably helped us all out a lot. Us as in like people who are in sports. I don't know if it helped
I'm
you out,
I'm
but
still I still have a vested interest in the stuff like that. I mean, definitely some stuff of mine, a lot of stuff of mine got hurt, but I also benefited. But like, whatever, dude. This is real life. You roll with the punches, and if you run good, like this helps industry. I mean, look, esports gets bigger. I was like a pioneer. Like I could always mention that in conversation. It's true. You could Google all this stuff, and like obviously Starcraft doesn't quote quote need me, but to say that I didn't have a big jump start, I didn't push a big jump start is just like you know I mean, history should know that I did, even if it's not like well
yeah,
known.
it's cool. You were there. You were there when it started
Yeah. So, and
on the
just
ground
like
floor.
yeah, and there's just like a lot of stuff that you experience too is like the way media is manipulating now. Like I had firsthand experience, like when media talks about me and I was actually there, or the event. I'm like, this is, you see a gap already, or you see a gap in communication, or when I see a documentary about like Google. Like I knew about Google when they were formed in 1998. We're like, oh, this thing's like kind of cool, and like when they were hiring PhDs only at that point, and then they just grew, and the rest is history. And in the documentary, they don't mention like a lot of cool stuff. Like startups were not very established, and they like you have to be creative and resourceful, just like starting any business. So one of the things was just like you mentioned for the esports teams, like a lot of people with money would buy like two supercomputers, and uh, they host the site there. But if one goes down, then oh, you have a backup one. But if both go down, then you're screwed. But
Mhm.
what Google did is they had a bunch of like, they had like 16 like cheap computers all linked together. So for Google to go completely down, all 16 of them had to go down. not just like, two. And frequently in that era, things would just like break. So you would have a relative similar computing speed with those 16 crappy computers and versus the two, high end ones. But the 16 crappy ones are cheaper and won't fail, or have
Right.
a lower chance of failing. And that's something that the documentary,
Didn't
doesn't.
get.
Yeah, it didn't get. But like I was there and I heard about it. I'm like, oh damn, dude, these kids are smart, man.
I mean, it's Google.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't like that wasn't a thing back then,
it
but
wasn't.
like,
Back then, Yahoo was number one, Alta Vista was number two, and I programmed at Alta Vista, and just like it was like the Wild West. Like people don't know there were thousands, if not tens of thousands, of like tech startups, and they're just like dead. Even ones that were slated and had like really high valuations. I'm sure you see in the news, like something like Uber is valued very high, but like they had like $30 billion in funding, and
yeah,
with automation, driving automation, might be rough times ahead. $30 billion was put into this company.
yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I don't know,
Var-
evolution.
Variance, evolution, yeah. Name that Hearthstone card. Well, you have anything left for the audience? This was pretty awesome. I'm always glad to, keep in touch with people younger than me who are just like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
I just say thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, I don't know if this is going to be a YouTube video or whatever it is, but
It's going to be YouTube, and it's going to eventually be an audio podcast. It's going to be everything, but I have a lot of stuff on my plate, so it's going to be slow too to execute. It'll
would
be on
just say-
YouTube first, yeah.
leave a comment for Wayne, all that stuff.
Subscribe to RayC's Twitch link, his Twitter. I'm gonna have all of his info down there, so sub there. And
Oh yeah, I post a lot on Twitter and Twitch. If you guys are interested in Hearthstone, I'm not too bad at the game. I'm like top 10 right now, so we'll see. I'm super
Keep it
into it right now. Hopefully I'll get rank 1. I'm looking forward to just like once coronavirus is over, I want to be able to just go visit everyone, man. I want to make it out there to California, do all that stuff once it's safe for me to do that. I want to just chill with everyone. It's going to be a good time. Excited.
Yeah, I mean, if you come out here, stay with Yegs. I'm tight with Yegs, so let me know. We got all the cool places, so it won't just be like sashimi that you throw up in the bathroom.
Dude, that was so bad. I felt so bad. It was so expensive too. It was so like I've never been to a place that does like courses either. Like
Oh,
that
it was omakase?
concept.
It was omakase.
Maybe I don't know.
They don't tell you what they're gonna give. They just prepare that day and just give it to you.
Yeah, they give you like it was like I don't. It was so weird. Like I've never like it was cool, but like I've never experienced like
Ray,
quote unquote fine
you know what?
dining.
Ray, you know what that's like? Opening a pack and not knowing what's inside.
Yeah, but all the packs are raw fish and they were all terrible. But like most people would probably die for that experience.
Yeah.
And I to me it just like nasty, dude. I was so bad. I felt so bad. So bad.
It's
I
all
tried
good.
my best.
It's all good. It's time spent, and now you have memories, and now you have stories on YouTube.
That's
podcasts.
true. That's true. Yeah, that's it from me. You got anything else you wanted to say or ask or whatnot?
Next time you coach me, I'm not going to bust my weapon before I attack with deckhand.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're pretty bad.
Actually, that was like I was really when I was playing Odd Rogue, and shout out to Dan Zach who was like helping me with that one. Like I never screwed that up, but like I think when you were coaching me too, my brain was so screwed up from like quarantine that just like whatever I had was just thrown out the window.
It do be that way. I mean, it's hard to coach sometimes when you're like streaming or like I was streaming and stuff. So it's like
Yeah,
sometimes I'm like talking to chat, like my attention is like kind of all over the place. I'm just like,
it's okay.
oh, do this, and this. So it's like my attention is like split when I'm doing that kind of thing a lot of the time. Like if I'm doing regular coaching where I'm coaching somebody, that's completely different. Like where I'm just like it is just me and another person in a call, and I'm completely focused on that. Like when I'm like streaming, I'll notice a lot of the time I'll like get distracted with like a question from chat, and then all of a sudden like the rope's burning. I'm like, okay, do this.
Yeah.
And then like in my head, it's like, oh, that's easy. Like
Very
that, they're just
easy.
gonna see it.
Yeah,
Like they're just gonna
yeah.
see it. Like I'm gonna say it, they're gonna see it, and then it's not how that translates. Like I'll say a bunch of shit, you'll see some of it, and then you'll be like, it just
This
kind
is
of
a
gets,
disaster. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean, I've told Dan, Zach, that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this in Hearthstone. I never do it, so now I'm just forget it. Like, I did the Wild tournament. I peaked out on like 35 in Standard and I think 11 in
Time
Wild.
to go for rank one, baby. Let's go.
I mean, I'm not gonna stop, but like, I just like until I actually am. I mean, I might do it next month, like commit, because like I sweated you doing the Smork Warlock, and I'm like, okay, like War Zoo was the first deck I made Legend in, and it was actually the deck I think I hit 35. So whatever, maybe that's the deck I'm gonna try to hit one.
Oh, it was. Oh yeah, you were watching my dude. That was a fun deck.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
like it.
I built that. I think I did like got to like top 20 with that or something, and then I switched to priest because I like priest as well. Built a
Well,
priest deck. Did well
if
with
I don't
that.
get high with it, it's definitely not the deck. It's definitely the player.
I mean, no, it's actually Blizzard. They're just rigging your RNG, bro. Don't
Oh
worry.
man.
You're
Well,
probably the best.
shout out to Blizzard for staying in action this long, and shout out to the original Blizzard crew. They're at Dreamhaven now, and some of the OG Blizzard people. But look, we all got to move on. So hopefully we're all still around, whatever name we're under, still being productive and contributing to the gaming world.
Yeah.
All right, guys. RayC, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.
Peace out.